Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to start in 1 minute, so I invite you all to come to your chairs just to start. Muy buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la última sesión
Good
del día de
afternoon
hoy
and
sobre el
welcome to
futuro
the
de
last
la
session
economía
today
creativa.
about the future of creative
Tenemos la
economy.
suerte de tener un panel
We are lucky to
fantástico
have a
que me han
great
puesto muy
panel,
difícil sus nombres,
and
pero voy a
we have
intentar
hard names to pronounce,
pronunciarlos lo
but I will
mejor
try to
posible.
pronounce them as
Esta
well as
sesión
possible.
se
This
enfocará, por
session
supuesto,
is
en las
same, of
industrias
course, to
creativas,
creative
que como ya hemos
industries,
escuchado
and
durante
as
el
we
día,
have
su
heard throughout the
crecimiento ha
day,
sido muy
their growth
acelerado y esto ha
has been
generado
accelerated,
múltiples
which has
oportunidades que
generated
hasta ahora no
multiple
habían sido
opportunities
tocadas,
that so
y
far
eso
they were
mismo
not
hace que
dealt with.
requieran de
Therefore, they
políticas
needed to have
públicas
public policies
renovadas,
that are
innovadoras,
renewed,
para poder
innovative, in order
enfrentar
to
este
face
crecimiento y
such
dar todas
growth
las
and
oportunidades
to
que éstas nos
provide all
pueden
the
entregar.
opportunities that
En
they
este
can
panel
deliver.
vamos a
In
discutir
this
con los
panel, we
ministros
will
que
be
nos
discussing
acompañan
with the ministers that have joined us
el gran crecimiento de la
the great
industria,
growth of the
cómo también esta
industry,
industria
as
tiene una
well
contribución
the
transversal a otros sectores de la
cross-sectional
economía, pero también
contribution
a
of
otros
this sector
sectores
to other
de la
sectors of the
sociedad en
economy
términos de
and
empleo,
society
el
for job
impacto sobre el trabajo
generation, the impact
femenino,
that it has on
el comercio, el
female
turismo,
work,
etcétera.
trade, tourism,
También,
among
cuáles
others.
son estas
And also,
prioridades
which are
críticas
these
para
critical
cuáles
priorities
serán estas
and
prioridades críticas
which
para
will be these
enfrentar
critical
el desarrollo
priorities
de la
to face
industria
development
creativa,
of the creative
de la
industry,
economía
of the
creativa,
economy
con
creative
nuevas
industry,
inversiones en
with the new
educación, en
investments in
entrenamiento,
education,
en estas
training,
destrezas que requiere
in
la
the
industria para
skills
generar
required
esos
by the
profesionales
industry
que
to
van a
have those
impulsar
professionals that will be
estas
driving
industrias
these
y sobre todo en el
industries.
ambiente
And of
digital.
course, in the digital
Y por
environment.
último, vamos a hablar
And also,
cuáles
we
son
will be
estas áreas
discussing which
para
are those
fortalecer
areas
la
that we need to
política
strengthen
en inversión para
the
el futuro
policy to invest for the
y también
future,
en los
and
temas de
also in
regulación de
the
los
areas
contenidos
of regulation
culturales
of
y
cultural
promover la
content, and to
diversidad
promote diversity,
para lograr una remuneración
to
justa
have a
y
just
equitativa
and
para
equitable
todos
income
aquellos
for all of
actores
those
de la cadena de valor
actors
de
of the
estas
value
industrias
chain of
que van
all these
creciendo muy
industries that
rápido,
are
pero
growing
no siempre sobre
very
las
fast,
bases
but not
fuertes que
always on the
necesitamos.
strong
Así es
basis that
que,
we need to
bueno,
have.
quisiera dar la bienvenida a
I would
nuestros
like to welcome
invitados.
to our guests.
First of all, I would like to invite to participation the Excellency Minister of Culture and Affairs from Bangladesh, Mr. Ki M. Khalid.
Mr. Moderator, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I thank UNESCO for convening Mondiacult 2022. My sincere gratitude to the government of Mexico for their warm hospitality. Excellencies, the concept of creative industry is relatively new, but the value of this industry accounts for 3.10% of the global GDP. It has the potential to employ huge number of youths. The industry has a valuable contribution to economic growth that helps foster sustainable development, particularly in the developing countries. Creative economy can facilitate the trading of creating goods and services, arts and culture, ideas, intellectual properties, and technologies. Distinguished colleagues, I laud UNESCO's decision to establish UNESCO Bangladesh Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman International Prize for the Creative Economy in 2020. This prize, named after our father of the nation, would promote entrepreneurship among the interested youth and cultural and creative industries. Creativity is a recognized renewable resource for sustainable human-centric development, and the youth are its prime movers. Ladies and gentlemen, sustainable future of the creative economy depends on our concerned policy actions that help culture flourish. We must create an enabling environment for capacity development of the cultural professionals in all forms of their practices. We should also continue to discuss our difference in culture and find out the best suited way to promote and protect our cultural values and elements, particularly in the digital form. Excellencies, our policy action need to equally address the intangible and tangible elements of culture, both on digital and social platforms. This gives culture a better reach out, but also has a downside unless culture is promoted in a safe, responsible, and regulated manner. Let me share some of views for the future of creative economy. First, safe digital space. Digital technologies have brought about profound changes to our culture, society, and lifestyles. But are we all prepared for digital safety? There is a huge digital divide which is exposing the users to the challenges of naturality and influences of algorithms. Our privacy is often compromised while we access digital platforms. We must increase international cooperation to promote the protect culture contents in the digital environment. Secondly, responsible cultural practice and promotion. Cultural creativity has no boundaries. Creativity should not pose any threat to the original form of culture. We must respect the inherent sanctity of cultural values. We need to promote cultural awareness in the academic institutions to prepare our future generations which the appropriate values to respect the culture of others. We must remember the responsible cultural promotion is much more important than the monetization. Without respect to others' culture, there will be no peace in the world. Sorry, I need sometimes. And finally, regulated trading of creative contents. The contribution of culture to the creative economy is yet to receive attention in the framework of global commercial and trading arrangements. Systematic trading of creative contents can create huge economic value. UNESCO may facilitate more engagement in the formulating a global mechanism to promote the creative goods and services in the digital environments. Excellencies, what we discuss today needs to be meaningful for our future generations. We need to be practical, fact-based, and forward-looking. We should engage the youth who are the flag bearers of the future of creative economy. We will not achieve the objectives of the SDGs if we leave culture out of our global development agenda. Let us all stand for safe, responsible, and regulated future of creative economy. I thank you all. Joy Bangla.
Muchísimas gracias, embajador. Ahora vamos a ver un video.
Thank you, Ambassador.
De
Now we have
la
a video
Su Excelencia Miss
from Her
Lalatiana
Excellency,
Adria
Latiana
Tonogravino,
Andrea Tongavino,
Rakotondra Perdón mi
Safi,
pronunciación, de Madagascar. Adelante.
Minister of Communication and Culture from Madagascar.
Madame la Directrice Générale, Monsieur le Président, honorables délégués, chers participants, Mesdames et Messieurs,
The
à travers
President,
ce
delegates and
message, je tiens à
participants,
adresser mes sincères
with
félicitations
this
à tous
message
les
I wish
participants de
to
Mondiacult
congratulate
2022 et
all
je tiens également à
participants
exprimer
from
notre
Mondiacult
regret de ne pas pouvoir
2022
être
and wish
physiquement
to
parmi vous
express
pour cause d'agenda
that I
international
am
qui se
sorry
superposent.
because
Mais
I was
notre
not
pays est
able
de
to
tout cœur
be
avec
there
vous et
because
s'engagera
of
à réaliser les
my
orientations
agenda. However,
issues
my
de la
country
conférence.
is there with
À
you,
Madagascar, ces
sharing it
dernières
with
années ont
you,
été
and will be
marquées par le
involved with the
retour de la
decisions
place
of this
privilégiée de
conference.
la
In the past
culture
years in
dans la
Madagascar,
politique
we have seen
publique.
a
Nous mettons
comeback
tout en œuvre pour
of
que la culture soit
culture
véritablement un levier de développement
at the
et
heart of our
l'élaboration en
public policy
2021
because
de la
we
nouvelle politique
are seeing
culturelle
culture
nationale
as a
refond une
tool for
ancienne loi
development,
quelque
and
peu
the new
dépassée en est
cultural
la
policy for
principale illustration.
2021
Il s'agit d'une politique nationale renforcée
proves it
et
right.
adaptée au
This is a
contexte de
national
l'évolution
policy that
globale,
is well
mettant notamment
consolidated and
l'accent sur
adapted
l'économie
to a global
créative, la
context,
protection et la mise en
aimed
valeur de
at
notre patrimoine culturel
creativity,
et la place de
projection,
l'humain
and
au cœur
valuing
de la
of our
culture.
cultural
En parlant d'économie
inheritance
créative, l'entrepreneuriat
and
culturel et
heritage.
l'industrie créative sont
Now,
deux défis
talking
majeurs
about creative
auxquels un pays comme
industry,
Madagascar doit absolument faire
we're
face.
talking
Nous
about
nous tournons
significant
résolument vers les jeunes
challenges
qui
that countries like
constituent plus de
Madagascar
la
is
moitié
facing.
de la population
We
active à
are
Madagascar.
working
Ces
with
jeunes
the
qui sont riches de leurs talents
the youth who
culturels
is
et
more than
artistiques
50%
et
of
qui
our
nous demandent à être
population,
mis en valeur,
these
des
young
jeunes qui ont longtemps
citizens
attendu
with
d'être
great
soutenus par
talent,
l'État pour
with
pouvoir
creative
vivre de leurs
talent,
arts et de
they
leurs talents.
who
Voilà pourquoi
expect for
plusieurs
the
programmes
support
ministériels
of
vont dans
the
ce sens,
state
comme la
to live
création des
to make a
centres
living out of their
d'incubation
talent.
pour
Therefore,
l'entrepreneuriat
we have
culturel et
implemented
l'industrie
actions
créative
among
dans
which
plusieurs
the
régions de notre
creation
pays, initiées
of
depuis 2021, ainsi que les appuis financiers
to
tous azimuts de l'État à la
foster
création
creative
d'entreprises
environments,
culturelles.
also
Les
financial
perspectives
support
du gouvernement sur
from
le plan
the state
culturel
for the
pour les années à
creation
venir
of
vont dans
cultural
le sens de la
companies.
culture pour le
Our
développement
plan
durable.
for the years
Nous
to
nous
come
réjouissons d'ailleurs de constater que les
aim
grandes
at the
thématiques
fostering
abordées
of
durant cette
culture and putting
conférence
it at the
font
service
partie de notre
of
plan pour
sustainable
l'émergence de
development.
Madagascar.
I
Je souhaite une grande
celebrate
réussite à cette
that the
conférence
topics
qui, nous l'espérons
of
tous, remettra la
Mondiacult
culture au
2022
centre
go
des enjeux
along the
politiques
lines
mondiaux.
those of
Je
my
vous
country.
remercie.
I hope that Mondiacult 2022 contributes to put culture at the core of international debate. Thank you very much for your
Muchísimas
attention.
gracias a la ministra de
Thank you very
Madagascar.
much for
Y ahora
to the Minister
solamente
of
decirles que
Madagascar.
yo me equivoqué,
And
hay otro panel más,
there
así
is
es que
another
pueden
panel,
disfrutarlo
so
luego de que
enjoy
terminemos
it
este.
once we're done
Quisiera
with this
invitar
one.
ahora
I
a la
wish to
ministra de
invite Minister
Montenegro,
of Montenegro,
Su
Her Excellency
Miss Masa
Masa
Vlahovic, ministra de
Blaovic,
Cultura
Minister
y
of
Medios.
Culture and Media.
También veremos un video.
We also have a video from her.
Uvaženi ministri, čini mi posebnu čast da vas pozdravim u ime Ministarstva kulture i medija Crne Gore i izrazim zahvalnost na prilici da vam se obratim na ovako značajnom događaju. Primjetno je da se kultura često posmatra kao oblast čiji razvoj podrazumijeva velika ulaganja koja nemaju značajne efekte u ekonomskom razvoju društva. Savremeni trendovi razvoja iz korijena mijenjaju ovu sliku i doprinose sagledavanju kulture u kontekstu njene ekonomske samoodrživosti. Promovišući ekonomske potencijale kulture, posebno u kontekstu razvoja kreativnih industrija, Crna Gora kao država koja je 2,5% svog nacionalnog budžeta izdvaja upravo za finansiranje kulture, teži da podrži što veći broj projekata koji postiču preduzetnički duh, što jeste jedan od efikasnijih načina kojima se utiče na povećanje zaposlenosti u kulturi i državi uopšte. U razradi takve strategije posebno mjesto zauzele su inicijative za posticanje preduzetničkih ideja koji daju novu upotrebnu vrijednost starim zanatima, nematerijalnoj kulturnoj baštini, ali i savremenoj turističkoj valorizaciji materijalnih dobara. U tom kontekstu, Ministarstvo kulture i medija na godišnjem nivou sufinansira projekte u oblasti razvoja kreativnih industrija, stavljajući akcenat na arhitekturu, dizajn, digitalne umjetnosti, uspostavljanje ICT proizvoda, ali i izdavaštvo i kreativnu upotrebu starih zanata. Takođe, kroz zakon u oblasti kinematografije stvorene su olakšavajući uslovi za producente, čime se omogućava povraćaj sredstava u iznosu od 25% ukupnih troškova proizvodnje kinematografskog dijela u Crnoj Gori. Kada govorimo o ekonomskoj valorizaciji kulture, nezaobilazna tema je i razvoj kulturnog turizma, koji za Crnu Goru kao državu čija se privreda u najvećem dijelu oslanja upravo na djelatnosti turizma ima poseban značaj. Kulturna dobra Crne Gore uglavnom se nalaze na atraktivnim lokacijama koje ih čine pogodnim za investiranje. Sve veća tražnja za takvim lokalitetima dodatna su motivacija za kreiranje funkcionalnijih i obostrano korisnih odnosa između kapitala i kulture. U tom kontekstu Crna Gora je u kontinuitetu značajna sredstva ulagala upravo u valorizaciju i restauraciju kulturnih dobara, čija je prenamjena u skladu sa važećim konzervatorskim principima doprinosila obogaćivanju lokalne turističke ponude, ali i adekvatnoj prezentaciji istaknutog dijela materijalne istorije i kulture države. Na kraju, koristim priliku da se zahvalim na pozivu koji mi je omogućio da dam doprinos u afirmaciji ove za crnogorsku baštinu i kulturu izuzetno značajne teme, uvjerena da će naše današnje okupljanje dati neophodan posticaj osnaživanju i jačanju kulturnih politika širom svijeta.
Thank you, Minister. And now we will have the chance to listen, Your Excellence, Mr. Ado Emejahosa, who is the Minister of Culture of Nigeria. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, MC. I would like to thank the organizers, UNESCO, for this important program, and also want to thank the hosts, the government and people of Mexico, for providing us with the opportunity to speak on this very important topic. I also want to extend the apology of my minister for his inability to be around. Actually, he was to lead the delegation. Something happened, so he has to stay back. So I am sitting for my minister. I would like to, this issue of the future of creative economy is a very important thing because it has to do essentially with the youth. And I believe that the youth are leaders of tomorrow. And because of this, we need to pay attention because culture itself is about life, it's about everybody, but the youth are central to this. And in our own case in Nigeria, we realized that, and the government in the first instance last year had to create a Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. And of course, yes, as a corollary to that, they back up with that with the Bank of Industry in Nigeria. And what they do, they realize that the diversity of the country in terms of cultures, in terms of religion, in terms of this, these are things that are assets. These are cultural assets and cultural resources that are very important to development. And we need to situate, our cultural asset, our cultural resources within the context, of the growing population we have. We have over 200 million population, and majority of them are youth. And of course, yes, most people may be aware that we have a very vibrant film industry in Nigeria. Of course, yes, the film, the music industry, and which I think that both of them are virtually the best and the largest in African continent. And because of that, the government feels that there's need for support so that the youth will be able to create value so that they will be able to link this to the issue of economic development and peace and unity. And of course, yes, looking at the nature the way this thing is going, if you neglect the youth, of course, you neglect the creative industry. Definitely the level of unemployment that you're going to witness is going to be great. Like in the case of our country, the the government cannot provide government job. The private sector may not be able to absorb the number of thousands of youth coming out and graduate coming out from universities, polytechnics and all that. The only thing is to think outside the box, to put a lot of encouragement in terms of, this creative economy, creative industries and all what have you. And that's why you have a situation whereby in the educational sector today, we give emphasis on skill acquisition, not this formal education, because you can come out without any skill. Definitely, you may not get a job. So you need to have that kind of skill. So you need to have the mental ability to think outside the box so that you can create a lot of opportunity for economic development, for youth employment, for of course, peace and development. And of course, yes, the impact of COVID-19, it did a lot. Of course, yes, it has its own negative aspect in terms of all the negative things that happen, but really, in terms of thinking outside the box, it pushed both the government and the population and the youth to think outside the normal parameters, for economic engagement and economic development. And I think Nigeria in this line has succeeded in many. And of course, yes, if you look at, even in terms of the way this comedy thing, in occasions and all that, it has become an industry. In terms of GDP, in terms of contribution to the economy and the society is so huge, is so enormous. So I would say that definitely this is an ongoing thing. And I think the government is aware of the importance, the people are aware of the importance, and it's using and mobilizing the huge advantage population we have in our country towards achieving this very important. So ultimately, lastly, I think the future of a creative economy in Nigeria is very bright and very essential to the development of this country, our country and the nation, and of course the world at large. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, señor Yahuza.
Thank you, Mr. Yahuza, for your participation on behalf of your minister. And now we will have the video from Your Excellence, the Minister of Human Resources, Culture, Tourism, and Development from Palau, Your Excellency, Mr. Girabelas Mechui. Sir, you have the floor.
Honorable ministers, policymakers, government, non-government organizations, and stakeholders, distinguished delegates, Ali from Palau. On behalf of the Ministry of Human Resources, Culture, Tourism and Development of the Republic of Palau, I would like to take this opportunity to thank those involved in the planning and organization of the Mondiacult 2022 for bringing us together to discuss and exchange information on a critically important area of sustainable development and building block of social stability, cohesion, and prosperity, our culture. Our country has made efforts in bringing the culture agenda into Palau's development plans. The expansion and enhancement of the Bureau of Historical and Cultural Preservation and the Belao National Museum was authorized by the Historic Preservation Act of 1978. To this day, these agencies provide oversight and management of Palau's tangible and intangible cultural heritage by ensuring the protection and preservation of our cultural properties. They also work together to regulate, monitor, and promote activities related to cultural research, historical preservation of sites, and the development of cultural and creative arts. In September 2021, the Belao National Museum, through UNESCO, have made efforts to enable and strengthen the creative industries in Palau by mobilizing local musicians, painters, carvers, weavers, and potters. Through this effort, it was clearly seen that creative arts are in need of a platform to exchange information and share knowledge in their specific craft and artistic creations. Among the musicians, for instance, many of the participants expressed their appreciation of exchanging their experiences and learning from the pioneers of the Palau music industry. From analog formats in the early 80s to the turn of the century, and now in digital platform age, the new and upcoming musicians collaborated together with the experienced generation and created new original content that resulted in 3 original songs. Although Palau has made progress in protecting and preserving our physical treasures and heritage, we still have much to do to promote and strengthen Palau's rich cultural heritage, to foster youth development, complement tourism efforts with environmental protection, and facilitate discussions and dialogues around culture in our economic goals, social stability efforts, and better healthcare and access to nutritional food. In particular, our national identity and our language continues to be affected amidst the technological advancement, global exchanges, the unprecedented pandemic, and climate change impacts. Developing and strengthening cultural tourism, promoting creative industries, and investing in Palau's cultural professionals will help ensure that we can continue to thrive, but also be mindful of treading carefully with our earth, and that we do not drastically alter the delicate system we have. Like Palau's leading efforts of the Palau Pledge, promoting culture will help us tread lightly, act kindly, and explore mindfully, and that the only footprints we want to leave are those that wash away from the incoming sea. Komhan Sulang, and thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias al ministro. Ahora quisiéramos invitar a hablar al Parliamentary Secretary de San Lucia, Su Excelencia Mr. Gibeon Ferdinand.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, excellencies. First of all, I want to thank the government and people of Mexico for their hospitality and for hosting this very important conference. The contribution of the culture and the creative economy to the local, regional, and international economy is widely understood and well documented. Globally, it is estimated that the creative economy contributes just over 6.1% to global gross domestic product, which we call the GDP, averaging between 2 and 7% of national GDPs around the world. UN estimates suggest that the creative economy generates annual revenues of over $2 trillion and accounts for about 50 million jobs worldwide. Culture and the creative sector are therefore considered as areas of high priority for achieving sustainable development and building sustainable livelihoods. With respect to the Caribbean region, where I'm from, the challenges faced within traditional industries such as agriculture and tourism, particularly within the context of climate change, has placed into sharp focus the need for increased diversification of our economies in order to build economic resilience and strengthen economic stability of our small states. In that regard, the creative economy provides an opportunity to focus on a dynamic industry that provides opportunities for human capital development and cultural enrichment. The creative economy also provides an opportunity for greater synergies between industries, key industries such as tourism and agriculture. For small island states like St. Lucia, the creative economy represents a major opportunity to address prevailing fiscal challenges, such as high levels of unemployment, particularly among youth. We believe that the development of a creative economy should be conceptualized with due regard for sustainable livelihoods through self-expression. It is therefore critical to incentivize the sectors or entities that seek to grow the creative economy. In the case of the government of St. Lucia, and I can relate to this as my direct experience, the concept of the youth economy has been introduced. The necessary legislative framework has been developed, and the Youth Economy Agency has been established to help convert skills into businesses and hobbies into entrepreneurship. This concept seeks to create the enabling environment for developing creativity, particularly among youth, including training and financing, to ensure that we remain relevant in the digital space while preserving authenticity, to embrace innovation while promoting our unique cultural diversity and self-expression, to expand the creative space by investing in education, to tap into the competencies of our human, culturally rich resources, while having international safeguards to maintain equity and meaningful participation by all, irrespective of geographic location, size, or circumstances. We believe that UNESCO must position itself to support such initiatives which target specific needs of the member states. We acknowledge a critical step in harnessing the full potential of the creative economy and a revision of the existing cultural policies. However, we must emphasize that cultural policies of necessity must be coupled with concrete support for building capacity within the development of this sector. St. Lucia continues to advocate for an approach with strong focus on implementation as well as direct meaning on the impact on the ground. The provision of technical assistance and building capacity of member states and stakeholders remains of paramount importance to harness the tremendous potential of the creative economy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important for us to stress that UNESCO should continue to support the implementation of concrete actions with direct impact on the development of the agendas of the member states, with particular focus of the needs of small island developing states like ours. I thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, embajador. Y ahora vamos a escuchar a la directora
Thank you
de la
very
División
much.
de
Now
Cultura
we'll
de
listen
Tonga,
to the head
la
of culture
señora,
from Tonga,
Pulupaki
Miss Pulupaki
Asiliukatapu Moala
Kutapu
Ika.
Moala Ika,
Muchísimas gracias.
Director of Culture Division.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Malo Lele, I warmly greet you all. I deliver this statement on behalf of the government of the Kingdom of Tonga. Please allow me to extend my government's best wishes for your presidential duties for the UNESCO World Conference on Cultural Policies and Sustainable Development. Tonga stands in solidarity, and we welcome the important work of the UNESCO to shape a more robust and resilient culture sector. The culture sector has an important role in fostering sustainable development. We are pleased to participate in this high-level thematic debate on the future of the creative economy. Allow me to share how the Kingdom of Tonga supports its creatives and enables the development of its cultural and creative industries. Women, young people, rural communities, and indigenous peoples are the beating heart of the creative sector in Tonga. Their talents and innovative ideas are often the primary source of livelihoods. Their engagement in the creative sector encourages appreciations of and pride in our distinct local heritage. Culture, after all, in so many ways, the expressions of the soul of the people. The creativity, the knowledge of age-old traditions and skills, the awareness they bring to Tongan culture sparks greater interest and investment in the safeguarding of our tangible and living heritage. It is their commitment, dedications, and work which help foster an appreciation of the diversity of our cultural heritage, transmits heritage through generations, and plays an important role in the development of sustainable cultural tourism. In the Kingdom of Tonga, we often see how a young artist creates a living for themselves using locally available materials, the coconut fibers, to weave our traditional attire, the katoalu, fine and noble basket, fans, traditional dance costumes, and other products deeply rooted in our culture. These products are displayed in several museums abroad. Such talent and commitment are admirable. This work is traditional craftsmanship and thus falls under one of the 5 domains of 2003 UNESCO conventions. Apart from the intrinsic artistic value, this is a concrete example of how youth can earn a living and how it reduces unemployment, makes use of their talent and transfers skills from one generation to the next. For cultural and creative professionals to thrive and contribute to society, it is our task to create an enabling environment. We must create opportunities. We must support appropriate skills development. We must open access to diverse markets. Youth unemployment continues to be very high, and it creates so many ripple effects in terms of social issues, such as increased crime rates and substance abuse. Hence, creating opportunity in our cultural sector is high on the agenda. Creating opportunity also implies to give our creative and cultural professionals the means and tools to adapt to the new realities of the global digital environment. Having those skills means new opportunities and access to new markets. With the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, Tonga had no other choice than to close its border in March 2020. We could reopen just a few months ago on the 1st of August 2022. This means standstill, it means being cut off, it was not connected through domestic and international communications. This shows critically important it is to seize the potential that digital access to markets offer the cultural sector in a small island nations like Tonga. At the same time, we need to ensure that creatives and the cultural production enjoy appropriate intellectual property rights and copyright. This is even more urgent now with the increased transfer of skills of culture to the digital domain. Tonga is in the process of ratifying 2005 UNESCO conventions, so that this convention is vital in providing a framework to support the creations, productions, and distributions of and access to the Tongan cultural goods and services. Through these conventions, it is hoped that creative and cultural professionals will be better supported to utilize their creativity and talent, whether in performing arts, design technology, visual arts, fine arts, design, music, and so forth, for sustainable livelihoods. For us, our cultural and creative industries are deeply connected with our sectors of our economy. This is most notably the case for tourism.
So if you can close quickly,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. To conclude, culture is not a luxury. Culture is a must. It's about a people's soul, and Tonga recognizes the fundamental and transformative role of culture in maintaining peace and building inclusive and sustainable future. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you successful deliberations. God bless you all. Malo.
Muchísimas gracias, directora.
Thank you,
Ahora
Director.
quisiéramos
Now,
ver el video que
we would like to
tenemos
watch the video
del
that we have received from the Minister.
for Culture, Community and Youth de Singapore, Mr. Edwin Tong.
Chairperson, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. Let me begin by thanking UNESCO and the Government of Mexico for hosting the UNESCO World Conference on Cultural Policies and Sustainable Development, Mondiacult 2022. All of us are navigating the challenges and opportunities in this increasingly complex world. This conference provides a valuable and timely opportunity to discuss cultural policy priorities, share best practices, and also deepen global cultural cooperation. Singapore recognizes the synergies between the cultural and creative sectors in contributing to economic growth. Together, these sectors have the strong potential to generate good jobs and livelihoods for our people. The creative economy is amongst the most rapidly growing sectors, contributing 3% of the global GDP and employing 30 million people worldwide. Jobs involving content creation and human ingenuity are at the heart of the culture and creative sectors. As cross-sector collaborations increasingly become the norm, arts and culture can encourage creativity and innovation in society at large. A vibrant and resilient arts and culture sector fosters dialogue and social inclusion in wider society, contributing to sustainable development. In Singapore, we continue to empower our cultural practitioners and organizations to push boundaries and contribute to the broader creative economy. First, we recognize that to collaborate across sectors and disciplines require capabilities beyond traditional cultural disciplines. To do this, we support our cultural practitioners through training and education to build up skills in new and emerging areas, such as e-pedagogy, commercialization, and also intellectual property law. We're also working with industry partners to ensure better protection and working conditions, especially for self-employed persons. Second, we cultivate opportunities for our cultural practitioners and organizations to forge partnerships across diverse industries to reap new synergies. For example, we piloted a scheme called Craft and Design, which paired traditional craft practitioners with designers to co-create innovative products, drawing on both contemporary design and traditional craft. Through grants, we support cultural organizations in transforming their operations to engage new and existing audiences, improve productivity and organizational effectiveness, and also complement existing revenue streams. Last, but certainly not least, digitalization is a key enabler for the cultural sector to pursue new artistic, cultural, and business opportunities. Earlier this year, we launched the Arts and Culture Digital Roadmap, a framework to guide our cultural organizations and practitioners in the adoption of digital solutions. Our arts and culture organizations and practitioners can also tap on a range of grants to level up their skills to operate in the digital environment. Singapore agrees that further cooperation and exchanges will strengthen national and international policy frameworks, allowing us to fully realize the potential of synergies between the cultural and creative sectors. Singapore has benefited tremendously from the sharing of experiences and best practices by our friends, particularly at international platforms such as UNESCO. We hope that we've also been able to contribute to these engagements. Singapore will be happy to work with our partners here today on new and exciting opportunities to collectively reap the benefits of the creative economy. Thank you.
Thank you to the Minister, and now I would like to welcome in video as well Your Excellence, Ms. Naura Al-Kaabi, Minister of Culture and Youth from United Arab Emirates.
Madam Director General, Excellencies, and my dear colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to be participating in this landmark event that has gathered us after 40 years in the same city where UNESCO laid the foundation of global policy dialogue in the area of culture with the first Mondiacult. One can only be moved by the symbolism of returning here after 4 decades in a very different context. To say that the world around us has changed in this time would be an understatement, with unprecedented digital, cultural, socio-economic, and political shifts. The UAE has recognized the growing power of the cultural and creative industries within the wider economy, as well as its vulnerability to unpredictable events. The CCI contribute to 3.5% of the UAE's GDP and is projected to grow to 5% by 2031. Within this context, we have moved quickly to adapt our strategy and policy work in this area accordingly, both on a federal and local level. The UAE Culture Agenda 2031 was launched in 2018 as the first nationwide strategy unifying the efforts of the national cultural sector. The COVID-19 pandemic evidently had profound impact on the CCI sector, but in the UAE, we sought to turn difficulty into opportunity. We learned that culture and creativity cannot be paused. We had to create a new normal and protect the livelihoods of the CCI community. We had to reshape our responses as policymakers. We launched the National Creative Relief Fund to mitigate the pandemic's financial impact by offering relief packages to creative practitioners and SMEs. Our cultural operators stepped in to provide economic catalyst, digital activations, and free access to knowledge and content to sustain the creative spirit. We also boosted the Golden Visa scheme to sustain the livelihoods of creative practitioners in the UAE. In 2021, the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development, we launched a 10-year national strategy for the cultural and creative industries, which aims to foster a robust creative ecosystem within the national economy. Globally, we were driven to present 2 resolutions to UNESCO's Executive Board, one focusing on culture and arts education, and the other on consolidating action for the creative economy. The UAE continues to support the ongoing revision process towards the framework for culture and arts education with a pledge of $500,000. The UNESCO-led process is only made possible with the insightful contributions from member states and relevant stakeholders. These collective efforts tap into further mobilizing culture and arts in education and empowering the youth to unleash their creative potential. The process will culminate in the World Conference on Culture and Arts Education in 2023, which the UAE holds the honor of hosting. We look forward to welcoming member states to adopt the revised framework on culture and arts education. We also look forward to hosting COP28 next year at Expo City Dubai, which will position the conversation on climate action through the lens of sustainability, culture, and connectivity. The UAE will continue to develop future forward policy support and appropriate funding mechanisms to sustain the CCI sector through institutional collaboration and interdisciplinary knowledge. Dear colleagues, going forward, let us resolve to design policy and partnerships based on spirit of collaboration and openness, on one that can lift our communities in the present and the future. I would like to thank UNESCO for organizing this historical event, and I look forward to seeing its outcomes materialize for the generation to come. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, ministra. Ahora tendremos la última intervención.
Thank you, Minister. Now we will have the last participation of the panel, and then I would like to ask the panelists to stay here while we listen to the observers.
Now I welcome His Excellency, Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport,
Mr.
Rudolph E. Samuel,
Él es el ministro de San Martín.
from San Martin.
Bienvenido.
Welcome.
Thank you. Director General of UNESCO, Assistant Director General for Culture of UNESCO, Government of Mexico, Mexico National Commission for UNESCO, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. There is no creative industry without dedicated investment in the arts. The focus for the development of the creative industry in St. Martin must be primarily through investments in the arts and the heritage sector. St. Martin, as a small island development state, acknowledges the importance of the economic diversification and supports investment in the creative economy. In this process, the heritage pillar of the culture creative industry, supported by the digitizing platform established through UNESCO guidelines, becomes the catalyst for new material and finding a voice to create new languages, new products, and new branding extrapolated from traditions. As such, the government of St. Martin declares its continued support and is determined to foster the development of sustainable cultural and creative sectors to support the creative economy by the implementation of the UNESCO 2005 Convention and the UNESCO 1980 recommendation. We are committed to guaranteeing the social and economic rights of artists and cultural professionals, facilitating mobility, and better regulating of digital platforms. St. Martin is also committed to engaging artists and cultural professionals in participatory dialogues by establishing an artist guild as a way to begin creative industry mapping and artist professional development. St. Martin believes the creative economy can open many opportunities in terms of employment, and particularly for young people, fostering innovation and creativity, and the development of sustainable cultural tourism on the island. Therefore, the government and my person, as Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, understand the importance of investing in culture education and ensuring our culture professionals acquire the necessary skills. Furthermore, St. Martin calls on UNESCO's commitment to assist member states and associate members in harnessing the digital information in the cultural sector. Building on the 2017 operational guidelines on implementation of the Convention in the digital environment and the culture-related provisions for the 2021 UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence. St. Martin, in collaboration with its brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, is dedicated to creating and promoting, through its platform of Culture Confidence, a culture creative industry that harnesses the intelligence of its forefathers and founding mothers. CariFesta is one of those platforms. St. Martin has decided to contribute through Culture Confidence by emphasizing the wealth of its heritage and using a national campaign under the acronym IRICH, I Remember Intangible Cultural Heritage. Though St. Martin still wrestles with the consequences of the physical devastation of Hurricane Irma in 2017 and the economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on its tourism sector, I am happy to report that these challenges transformed into opportunities for change through a surge in the culture creative expressions and initiatives. In closing, St. Martin fully supports the consolidated draft final declaration, and with the joint forces of our National Commission for UNESCO and the Department of Culture, will incorporate aspects of the declaration into our existing cultural policies. I would like to thank Mexico and all those who, by some way or the other, have made this event what it has been for all of us. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Now I ask our panel members to please stick around, and now I will ask one of our observers. It's going to be Magdalena Moreno Mujica, Executive Director of the International Federation of Arts Councils and Culture Agencies, IFACCA. Magdalena.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
I will speak in English. On behalf of IFICA, the International Federation of Arts Councils, Ministries of Culture and Culture Agencies from across 70 countries from around the world, I celebrate the unique opportunity that the Ministry of Culture of Mexico and UNESCO has provided us with. I would like to make 2 points on this subject that we have been called for to respond to, the future of creative economy. Number one, we cannot have a creative economy without tangible recognition of the cultural and creative workforce. We must move away from deficit models. What do we mean by deficit models? Absence or weakening of its social value beyond the economic value. We must also move away from continued invisibility of the cultural workforce not being considered as labor. And 3, the lack of understanding of what constitutes the work of an artist and all those millions of cultural workers across the cultural value chain. So my second point, how do we do this? Well, Mondiacult has further shown us that the various layers of work that we all do, we must work together. We need to work together. The fact that we have so many mechanisms and spaces of dialogue is key. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is if we work in silos. Participatory governance means that all can be involved in the co-design, co-delivery, and co-ownership of this. Culture, to this effect, must also be considered as an essential goal and dimension. But let's ensure that it's also transversal in driving change through other portfolios. And finally, it will be through our collective efforts in all of the spaces that we work through that we can pave the way for a sustainable future for all that is fair, just, and inclusive. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you, Minister.
Muchísimas gracias, la señora Magdalena Moreno. Ahora quisiera invitar a la señora Amelia María Machine, vicepresidenta de Arterial Network.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. And when we talk about the future of cultural and creative industries, we consider that we have to stop looking at it through a mediatized reality. If the industry stage is to be achieved in Africa, we need to look into the structural and infrastructural emergency. We need to look into the rehabilitation of the social dignity and to the linguistic, cultural, and ethnical diversity. We need to enhance identity, even before we start talking about the creative industry. As is the creative and the cultural and creative industry is a reality in the North, and it's an imaginary in the South. The South would like to achieve the same stage with the support of all our partners. We can start this by taking into account our youth, who are the majority and the fastest growing group, full of dreams in their heads, their minds, which is where, in fact, the factory begins. Education can be the door, as in to integrate culture into culture and artistic practices into the educational program. We believe that this is the future of Africa, of a consolidated approach of the social, cultural dimension of the creative industry. I speak of social-cultural aspect because culture is indeed a separate pillar of sustainable development, let me be faster, which will allow for social change, encourage peace, promote well-being. The solutions of the North will not fit the realities from the South. But we need the African resourcefulness. It's fundamental for the African context. At the same time, we need the meticulousness and the organizational dynamics of the North as an asset for Africa to adapt to its context of growth. Okay, quick. This can be only achieved with technological and technocratical solidarity. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Perdón la presión.
Sorry for exerting pressure. Now we would like to call
La señora
Shen Wan Hun from the International Council for Film, Television, and Audiovisual Communications.
She is the Deputy Director of the Platform Creativity and Innovation, PCI, CICT, ICFT, Youth Branch, and CICT, ICFT Secretariat Representative. Thank you.
Honorable chairs, thank you very much for giving me the floor. Is it okay? Thank you. The ICFT was founded at the 10th session of UNESCO's General Conference in 1956 It's been working closely with UNESCO in promoting its mandates and ideals and functioning as bridge between UNESCO and civil society in audiovisual sector. We've launched PCI during the pandemic as a youth branch dedicating to empowering and inspiring young people while expanding our support to other cultural and creative fields. Well, according to our work experience in recent years, I would like to highlight one point related to the future of creative economy. That means interdisciplinarity. The creative economy is the most dynamic sector of the global economy, which needs dynamic forces. It requires a constant stream of intellectual inventions and supports. Artists and cultural professionals are essential contributors to the creative economy. More and more of them are drawing inspirations from other different fields to generate new possibilities, such as from sports, science, agriculture, and also from social issues like climate change, like gender equalities. Interdisciplinary collaborations are not new, but an inevitable trend in the future. Meanwhile, interdisciplinary education will become a key factor that help artists and cultural professionals, especially young people, understand and make connections across a diverse array of knowledge and skills. UNESCO has done a lot of work that nurtures creativity, like 2005 Convention, Creative Cities Network, Resilient Art, Arts Education Project. If we could have more support to facilitate interdisciplinary collaborations and education for artists and culture professionals all over the world, it would be not only build a more inclusive culture and creative ecosystem, but also foster a mutual understanding of culture of peace. Regarding audiovisual as a springboard, we're about to launch an interdisciplinary program that creates interactions and collaborations between art, culture, and different areas through creative innovation and innovative process. ICFT and PCI would be pleased to strengthen our work with our member states, international organizations, NGOs, institutions, and also private sectors to support creative economy. Thank you very much for your kind attention. We look forward to discussing with you. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias a todos los participantes, a ustedes, la audiencia, por participar en este panel. Como estamos tan apretados de tiempo, creo que no voy a rematar con palabras finales, solo agradecer a los ministros, ministras.
I will not give the final comments only to the ministers that were in this panel. We will just invite you to the next panel, which is going to be with the same topic. We don't have time for final remarks. Thank you so much for being part of this panel.